Right now, you're seeing a lot of videos on YouTube and TikTok talking about the ravages of high inflation. Some of these people are crying. Some of these people are stressed out. They can't sleep. Some of these people are working 2, 3, 4 jobs. People are doing side hustles, and they're simply finding that their hard efforts are not enough so that they can live without being stressed out. So we want to send out prayers and consolidations to these people because they're struggling. And I got a message. There's a false message being put out that the reason that we have this rapid, dramatic, high level of inflation is because people are spending money on their necessities. It has nothing to do with it. I want you to think back to the pandemic. And this happened in America. And this is the reason that we have not just regular inflation, but dramatic inflation. The United States government infused $5 trillion into our economy. And all of that money, literally, it was reported that half of the money that was printed in the United States was printed in the last 2 years. That's the reason that we have dramatic, back-breaking, bone-breaking inflation. You want to start a business, you want to set up a holding company, an operating company, you want to get yourself some business credit, you want to learn how to run a business, you want to start your first online business. If you want to do that, and congratulations to you for being a person that wants more out of life, for being that person that's ready to sit down, do the work so your future can be brighter. I got some for you. Go below and enter into the Corporate Citizen Playbook, where we teach you all of that plus a lot more. Because you are not a normal, regular person. You want more out of life. You want to do more, you want to be more, you want to have more. And congratulations to you. So this link is below. Go ahead and check out this video. And then go ahead and enroll in the Corporate Citizen Playbook, where I teach you some things that you cannot Google. Can't Google it. Can't Google it at all. It's not because you're trying to have a nice house, not because you're living, not because you're spending money. The reason that we have this dramatic level of inflation is that the United States government infused $5 trillion into the economy. And this is one of the reasons that inflation has been particularly hard to combat, because there has been so much money pushed into the system. I remember there was a restaurant that opened up that literally whenever I went to this restaurant, I would have to use the app because it was always an hour and a half wait. And this was the period that a lot of people were buying houses for Airbnb. This was the period a lot of people were buying cars for Turo. This was the people were using, and once again, this money, it was the EDIL loan, it was the PPP loans, it was the enhanced unemployment, and let's talk about that. I put out these videos, you can't find them anymore because they're gone, but I put out these videos saying that it was a bad idea to give someone more money for work, being at home, being unemployed because of this enhanced employment situation than the money that they were making when they were working. It's a bad idea. And this is one of the reasons that we have such a large contingency of people who are coming to YouTube, who are coming to TikTok, who are voicing their anger because this is something else that happened. During the pandemic, Americans got a taste of the good life. You can't get evicted. They're not going to repo your car. They're not going to take your house. They're going to pause all these bills. And then we're going to give you additional money on top of that. This created this new American animal, that now knows that better life is possible, and people are angry and upset because they literally had this better life snatched from them. Right now, and this is something else that I also said, that the work from home movement wasn't going to last. I said this 2 years ago, and there's been conclusive studies that productivity has gone down because people were working from home. Now, you got a question like, why would productivity go down? Let me tell you the story of someone I know who's an IT worker who makes $160,000, maybe $180,000 per year. She got to work from home. She would wake up, she would work, she would take care of her dogs, then she would, at 12 o'clock, she would take a nap. And then she would work until 3, and then from 3, after 3, she would go to the gym. She created her own ecosystem, her own lifestyle that had nothing to do with working for this company for 8 hours a day. She didn't work 8 hours a day. She crafted a cozy environment for herself. She was not poorly paid. She was making $160,000, most money she's ever made in her life. So she wasn't poorly paid. And this is what she did when she had the opportunity to work from home. Now, filter this down to people who were not making $160,000, to people who were making $30,000 and $40,000. I had a friend who called me up, who was pissed off. It's like, I called this company, I was dealing with the customer service rep, and the kid was in the background screaming his head off. Once again, a lot of people who were parents chose to keep their kids at home while they were supposed to be working. And this, go to the internet, there's tons and tons of stories of this. It's like, hey, I tried to deal with this customer, I was dealing with this customer rep, dogs were barking, kids were going off. So what happened during this pandemic period is a lot of people self-adjusted their lifestyle. And it had nothing to do with working 8 hours. It had nothing to do with the keystrokes. It had nothing to do with showing up at work. They adjusted their lifestyle to fit them. So productivity went way down. So now you have this war between the American worker who wants to remain remote, who wants to keep working from home on their self-regulated schedule. And this is why so many people are clamoring at the bits, because they want to work from home to create that cozy self-created schedule. This is what they want. So you have that, you have dramatic inflation, you have the money supply, and once again, condolences go out to all these people who are struggling. I saw video after video after video. There was a video of a woman in her house in London with a thick cap on and a coat on inside her house, blowing into her hand so you could see her breath because she didn't have the heat on. Now, here's the big question. How long is this dramatic? Once again, it's dramatic. It's not a moderate kind of a bump. You know, a moderate bump would be your rent was $1,200, they move it up to $1,350. That's moderate. What people are seeing now, once again, a lot of this happening in the real estate space is due to greedy landlords. I've literally seen apartments that were going for $1,200. Now the rent is $2,000 and the rent's $2,500. And what you're finding out is a lot of these apartments are remaining empty because people cannot afford to rent them. So in time, because once again, there was a ton of greedy landlords who felt like, give you an example. I was doing this thing what I call the failed Airbnb. And these would be fully furnished apartments or houses that they had on Zillow for what I would call an exaggerated rent. It was a regular house. They wanted $8,500 for it. $8,500, which is 10 months, is $85,000. It's $85,000. So $100K in rent in 1 year. The number of Americans who can afford that are in the top 5%. And the number of Americans with that kind of income are not going to rent a house, even though it's fully furnished, when they have the option to buy a house. And this is another reason with the pandemic, with the government interference. And once again, I talked about this quite a bit. And I said we would have been better off letting bad things happen, because with the infusion of all of this money in the economy, it just pushed the bad things to today, which is why we have dramatic inflation. This is why we have people who are struggling. This is why, and once again, something else is happening. The repossession rate is at an all-time high. A lot of people took this government money, this infusion of the 5 trillion, and went out and bought cars and bought houses and bought jewelry and took vacations and did all kinds of stuff that they no longer can maintain. They no longer can keep this lifestyle up because the government bonus money is gone. There's no more direct payments. There's no more enhanced unemployment. There's no more protection against being evicted. There's no more protection against having a foreclosure happen on your home. So all that's gone. And what we're going to see as we go into the rest of 2023, and we're going to see a lot of this stuff in the fourth quarter, we're going to see unemployment start to really go up. We're going to see evictions. We're going to see foreclosures. We're going to see a lot of repossessions, because during this environment, when the government was throwing money into the economy, a lot of people made long-term decisions based on a short-term situation. And this, once again, every time I see the reason inflation is here is because you want to live and you're spending money, it has nothing to do with it. If you go to the Google machine and look up the causes of dramatic inflations, you will see, like, once again, if the market had adjusted where people were trying to buy real estate at a crazy rate, which didn't happen. I'm going to explain to you what happened. That would have made a natural rate of inflation. But what we have is a highly leveraged rate of inflation that was induced by reckless government infusion of cash into the economy. I remember it well. Like I said, you can't find these videos because they're gone, but I talked about how I felt that at the time, if we had let the bad things happen then, we wouldn't be dealing with the bad things that are happening now. So you can pick and choose. It's like, go ahead and have your bad things happen at that time, or push the bad things off into the future. And due to the government and due to the people who were running the country, they just decided to put this cash out, the CARES Act, and they just push this to right now. Right now, you have people with good credit, decent incomes, money to put down, who cannot afford the average American house. These are people who make $100,000 a year, married couple, husband and wife. They cannot afford the average house price in America. Now, this is a big question. A lot of people want, how long is this going to go on? Because here's the thing. Even though the current situation that we have was induced by government infusion of cash, and it didn't happen just here in the United States. It happened in Great Britain. It happened in Australia. It literally happened around the world, because everyone in the world is facing this atrocious high level of inflation. And one of the things that I see that is so sad about these videos that are popping up on TikTok and YouTube is these people are stressed out. These people are worried. And when is this going to stop? I cannot tell you exactly when it's going to stop, but I can tell you it is going to stop, because this is unsustainable to have housing prices go up 50% in 2 years. This is something that's called the customer pricing effect. Once you have an item that is priced out of the reaches of the average customer that it was intended for, the market over time will self-correct. Housing prices, I don't think, are going to crash. I do think they're going to slow way down, and then what's going to happen is going to create this situation where the market can kind of catch up with housing prices. In some markets, housing prices are going to seriously correct. And then in some markets, housing prices barely changed. So we're going to have what I call a market correction with housing prices, We're going to have a market correction with auto prices. And this is something that's just going to take some time. It's not going to be an instant change. It's going to take some time to see this, because we cannot keep going at this level. And this is a lesson for everyone who wants to start a business. Pricing. You cannot put your product at a price level that is greater than what your customer base can afford. You know what's going to happen if you do that? You're going out of business. That's what's going to happen. And this is one of the things that people just don't understand, because I've seen some of this stuff with the people who are putting the pressure inflation videos up. I've saw some ideals that I know are not conceivable. Like one guy said, if we went to war with 20 countries, gave them money, they couldn't, like, that ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. And also, I have seen what I like to call bad math. There's this one guy who's talking about what the rate of inflation was, and he put that in the 20s that people were making $4,500, $5,000 a year. The minute I saw that, I knew that that was fundamentally a lie. Wasn't false, it's an outright lie. In the 1920s, people were making $1,500 per year. How do I know this? This is something I researched years ago. So you have some of these people who are making these TikTok and YouTube videos who are being overly dramatic, and they're creating their own facts, because American income didn't get to $45,000 to the 1960s. So you're seeing a lot of bad information that is overly hyped to create impact and drama to sell the video, even though it's not true. But I do believe that a lot of the videos made on TikTok and YouTube are coming from a honest, heartfelt space, and these people are suffering. I think the vast majority of these videos are 100% on point because people are struggling. Because this is one of the things that I see, and people are reaching out and it's like, is it just me, or am I the only one that's living in this inflation? And once again, not to be unkind, but seriously, if you're in the top 20% of America, you're not feeling inflation. Gas prices go up, food prices go up, things go up. You just keep purchasing and going on with your life. But if you're in that bottom 80%, you're very much feeling inflation. You're very much feeling the housing price increases. You're very much feeling all this stuff. So what is the answer? Here at Personal Capital, we're about starting businesses. Now, there's a lot of people who don't want the pressure, the stress of starting a business, so that isn't for you. But for those of you who want to take on the issue of starting a business, setting up a business, this is one of the things. Now, once again, to all of those people who are suffering, who are really going through it, you have my condolences. I don't dismiss what you're suffering. I don't take it lightly, because that's your life. You're living in it. You're really, really catching this. So once again, the next part of this video isn't to demean you or insult you. During this dramatic inflation, I haven't felt it. Whenever I need gas, if I'm on E, I put my credit card in and I fill up. I haven't noticed food prices. You wanna know why? Because I eat out most days. I ordered DoorDash. I have no clue. I could quickly look and see what I spend for food, but I would say it's probably like $1,200, $1,500 per month. Rent, my rent was already high before the dramatic inflation even started. So once again, I didn't feel it. It's not impacting me. It's not creating drama in my life, because I took the corporate citizen route. And once again, I prepared myself for today years ago by starting a business and exercising the principles that I put out on this channel. So once again, this isn't to be demeaning or to talk bad about anyone who's suffering, because I really believe that there's a lot of people who are suffering. There's a lot of people who are stressed out. But if you want to remove yourself from that position, here's a word of advice. Number one, get your personal economy straight. get out of debt, put some money in the bank, and start a business. That's going to be your best barrier, your best protection in what's happening in the world today. So right now, I have something called the Corporate Citizen Playbook that talks about the things that you need to do. Number one, this isn't for everyone. There's a cost involved. This isn't for everyone. If you don't have the money, I cannot help you. But if you do have the money and you want to go on the process where you want to learn how to set up a holding company, learn how to set up an operating company, learn how to get massive business credit, learn how to start a business, and learn how to make money, go below and check out the Corporate Citizen Playbook. Once again, this isn't for everyone. But if you're a person that this is for, it can literally change your life by teaching you how to make six figures for the rest of your life.